Hi, good evening, everyone. Okay, so let's start for today. So as usual, I will ask you that if you have any question before we start. Anyone, any question? Okay. If there was no response, I thought maybe the voice is not getting through. Okay, so if there is no question, should we move to our presentation? Okay, so before we move from where we stopped yesterday, let's have a recap of at least of the subject which we are in the middle of. Okay, so we were discussing integration management, and we started with that we talk about that there are 6 processes, and this is one of the knowledge area where the processes you will find in all the process groups. There is a one process in initiation, which is project develop project charter, develop project management plan, which is in planning process, direct and manage project execution is the executing process, monitoring and control project, and perform integration change control is a other part of monitoring and control, and the close project is a part of the closing process. Okay, so we discussed about what is the project charter. So I think if we do some recap together, you also contribute, then I think it will be a little more interactive and much better. And I would like if you also participate. You are using your chat heavily, which is quite good. Let's use your mic also and talk about that you also contribute in recapping what we did yesterday, and then we will continue. So whatever you have got some idea about project charter, if you can talk about what project charter we discussed yesterday, and then we'll move forward. Are you able to hear me, or my voice is clear? Problem with the voice. So I suggest you that you also contribute. See, the thing is that I will keep going on this, but maybe we will discuss in more on communication management, that what is called a feedback, and what make the communication complete. And if you will not participate, maybe learning will not that happen. Or if you also like speak out, you discuss here, and if you have any confusion, either the things have completely gone through. If you have not got through anything, you speak out and say, okay, I have not got anything, can you explain this again? I will be more than happy to explain this again. So, but if you will not participate, the learning will not happen, or this will not be that interesting actually, this workshop. So why not let's recap together whatever you have got regarding the project charter. Maybe it will give me an opportunity to whatever I said yesterday, to say it again. If something, I absolutely understand that once I go through once, there are only 10-20% which a person is able to capture and remain in his mind. It is the thing which you need to read again and go through the questions, which will help you to revive. But even that is good enough actually. Okay, charter is one document, either one or two page. Okay, right, right. What other people say about it?
I mean, a project charter is a authorizing to use the project manager authorization, and it should have the very brief about the milestones
Mm-hmm,
and very brief about the needs of the project.
mm-hmm.
And
Right, absolutely.
so once the project charter has been created and assigned to the project manager, so he will be the right person to use the resources for the project.
Right. Or he is actually authorized to use the organization resources for the project.
Yeah.
And the one of the important thing which we discussed, that it connects with this organization strategy. It connects the project. It clear connection between the project and the organization strategy, because project is taken within a strategy of the organization.
All right.
Bhagesh, you would like to add in this?
Hello?
Yeah, Bhagesh, will be to you.
Hello?
Yes, yes,
Yeah. Am I audible?
yes, sir, very much.
Yeah. Well, in developing the project charter, we give authority to the project manager, to apply all the organizational resources for the project activities. Basically, he, gets the thing approved from senior or top management for a particular project.
Right. And one important thing is it should be written by some of the senior person. Some senior person should write it, or project manager should write it and get approval from or get signed off by the
knowledgeable. Correct. A knowledgeable person who's got good experience or exposure, he should write the project charter and get approval from the top management.
Right. So ideally, the project charter should be written by a senior person. When a person is senior, I think he has a good experience in that. So the senior person who is authorized to discharge resources, actually the person should write. But alternatively, project manager or the project management team, ideally project manager should write it and get it signed off by the senior person. So it is not signed off, then you never know. It is really it's stating what senior management want, or it contains something else.
Yeah. Basically, a project charter, is a development a stage or step for developing a document that formally authorizes the existence of the project.
Existence of the project, right?
That we have discussed yesterday.
Right. And Lalit, good evening. You would like to add into this? We are just recapping what we discussed yesterday about integration management. You can unmute and speak out, and then you can mute again. Okay, like to add into project management plan will be fair enough. So I think once the project charter is in place, the next thing with the project manager is to prepare a plan. And we specifically discuss about that this project plan is basically a consolidation of all the subsidiary plan. What are those subsidiary plan?
Time management, scope management, and cost management, and quality management.
Right. And we also discussed the last bullet in this progressively elaborated.
Progressively elaborative means while continuing the work we can able to plan it. So sometimes we may not able to get the entire requirements at very beginning, so that it would be a progressively elaborated. So once we started, so something has been progressed, so then we can come to know what needs to do next, so we can plan it from that point onwards. So it is not that meaning it is not entirely planned at the very beginning, so we can plan it while progressing the project as well.
Right. So progressively elaborated, what you have like stated is more or less right. What is the idea of progressively elaborated? That initially we know very little about the project. Therefore, planning entire project could be difficult in the beginning. And so what we do, let me show you what we exactly do in this case. This is the project timeline, supposed to 6 months. So we create a window, let's say 1 month. And whatever comes in this window, we plan it in detail, and rest we kept at a high level. So we have a high level plan anyway. What we do, whatever in the next 1 month, if the window is 1 month, we can define window 15 days, 1.5 months, 2 months also. We plan things in detail. Let's take an example that first phase is requirement, and suppose requirement is going to be 1 month. So what I will do, I will plan the requirement phase completely in detail, each and every activity, while the design phase remain at high level. When we move further, when the requirements come out, when some of the requirements have come out, say 2 weeks have passed, we push this window further by 15 days because this window is 1 month. So now, because during this time we have learned a lot about project, we are in the position to plan for next 15 days also. So we add next 15 days also. And then as we move to the near to the end of the requirement, we may be in the position to plan something like that. And as we move, we know more and more about it. Maybe when the design is complete, we would be in the position to plan for entire project. And we need to keep changing that because as you move into the project, your knowledge will be continuously enhanced, which will like make you to make the changes in the plan, because plan may not be very perfect in the initial stage. And that is what the progressive elaboration is. We need to document also that the policies are defined and frequent changes are avoided. Absolutely. And we also need to tailor the processes. First, we have to pick and choose the right processes for our organization or for our project. And second, we should tailor them as per the project. So we should not take a project, or we should not adopt a process which is not required for our project. And we should not use a process which is not really fitting with the project. We need to fine tune this process and then adopt it. That is what make the project management and whole project altogether more efficient. Most of the frustration of the team with respect to management work, with respect to process work, people say that process means waste of time, and we are doing something which is not required. And this happens because we are doing something which we feel is not required, because we have adopted some process which is really not required. We can get rid of it. So that's what, because the proper tailoring has not happened. What more was there in the project planning? Overlapping the phases. But that was the phases actually. That was the framework part. What else the project plan contains? What do you think? What other things we need to take care of? The planning is the most important part in the project management. And project management plan is something which is covering up all the aspects of project. I hope I'm not pushing too much to contribute into the to speak out, but that's where actually we will really learn, and we really discuss, and this workshop will be more interesting. Business needs, yes, they come from project charter and need to be addressed in project plan. Resource management, right? We need to take care of the resource plan as well, which will come from human resource management plan. Project scope and description. Yeah, that is, see, these are the things which will come from subsidiary plan. But there is something which will not come from subsidiary plan, which is part of the project management plan, but it's not coming from the subsidiary plan. Like risk management plan will come from the risk management plan. We'll discuss about, but there's something common in that.
I think expert judgment.
Yeah, expert judgment is something like project manager. Because expert judgment means a person who can prepare a plan, who experienced person, knowledgeable person who can prepare a plan, that would be project manager in this case.
Right. And I mean, these are the tools and techniques, and basically the other tools facilitated workshops and brainstorming and all. Using all these channels, we can able to get more closer about the requirements, and that should be included in the project management plan.
That's right. But
So,
besides this, we also have to define the life cycle of the project, how the project will be look like, how the
we can
overall shape of the
define
project
it
will be.
like I mean, we can define the project as a phase-wise or the sequential or overlapping,
Iterative
right? Right.
is phased manner, right? So we need to define that how the
Yeah.
project will progress. Actually, the scope, time will defined in every manner, but you can define that how the project will be executed. What will be the life cycle of the project? How many phases will be there? How the deliverables will be delivered to the client?
Right. So these all has to be documented as well, right?
Right. And we need to maintain the integrity of the performance measurement baseline. We have to prepare all the plan and baseline it so that we can take care of the integrity of the baseline. So baseline means once we have frozen the project plan, then we need to obey this plan. And we should not change this plan without following change management process. That's the integrity of the baseline. The baseline cannot be changed, which means once we have set the baseline, we should follow that plan. And if some changes happen, some changes occurs, we should not just adopt them, just take them, but they should come through the change management process and then get incorporated into the baseline. Now, execution is the place where we create deliverables, or what, not project management as such, but the team as a team will develop the deliverables and produce the deliverables and will be delivered to the client. So it is the real time where most of the team will be working, and most of the work or most of the efforts of the projects will be spent here. What are the few things during execution we should do? Important things we should take care when we are executing. Monitor the place of the work. See, monitor, when you say now, it becomes control, monitoring and control. Roles and responsibilities are clear.
I mean during the execution time, so whatever the changes has been identified, we have to properly integrate it. So the main, the change management plan should be proper in the project management plan, so that we can able to follow the process properly.
Right. Let me discrete little bit between execution and monitoring and control. See, change control is largely part of the controlling process. What we need to take care in execution, see, during when we execute, these all things go together. Monitoring and control, planning and execution, they all go together actually. So they have a lot of overlapping on each other, as we saw on that graph. But we have to see that what is the part of which process. So taking care of the changes is basically a part of the change control, but what we need to take care in direct and managed execution is that whatever change, actually it's the implementation, it is producing deliverables. So if any change we are implementing, it is approved one only. So therefore you see that one of the input you see is the approved change request. So approved change is one of the input, that only approved change will be implemented. because direct and manage is basically producing the deliverable. So when we talk about controlling becomes part of the control, though these all things happen together, but that's part of the monitoring and control, which is the next topic actually.
Okay.
Work performance report. In fact, not work performance report, but work performance data. See, there is a difference between work performance data and report. Report is a refined data which has some meaning. Data may not be having any meaning. Data is a raw data which is collected. So we need to collect data actually when we are in execution. So in execution people are doing, we need to capture the data, that how they are doing, how much time they took, how much money they spent, how much efforts they spent in that, how much deliverable is complete. This is what the data we need to capture. That is called work performance data we need to capture, which will help us to generate reports or provide information. What else we need to take care? Means procurement. So yeah, procurement is one of the part of the execution. So doing procurement is part of the execution, right? Supplier management, right? Getting the procurement, getting the things from the seller supplier. That's right. See, one of the most important thing here is that we see that the output is deliverable. Who is producing deliverable? Team. We need to take care of the team. We need to see human resource, stakeholder management, and communication. So deliverables done by team. So human resource management during this time, communication, because you are having some status, you have to communicate, teamwork, right? And stakeholder management. It's an extended team basically. These three things are top things in the during execution, because they contribute in deliverables coming correctly on time. So motivating team, doing some team building exercises, getting the team on the project, communicating with the stakeholders, sending them status report, getting their inputs, and looking after the stakeholder satisfaction, stakeholders engagement in the project. That is few things which are very important to produce the deliverables. So human resource or people around in the connected with the projects are one of the important things which we need to do during execution. And as we discuss, we talk about change requests, that normally all execution processes or all the monitoring and control processes have this change request as an output, because there is a fair possibility when you are doing the job, you find some gaps and you will like to fill that gap. And in monitoring and control, anywhere there is a deviation, you need to do one of this. So the next step is monitoring and control process. And monitoring control is about monitoring, call about is plan versus actual. So during execution, you have collected the data. So you got actual information. From planning you have plan information. Monitoring says compare these two things. And control says if there is a variance, take corrective measure. So taking corrective measure is control. Identifying the variance is monitoring. Right? And letting people know about that how we are performing, first thing, that is past, and future forecast, how we will going to perform. Okay, will you please put some thought on regulating process? Regulating process, what do you really means? We are talking about this. See, regulating process here, it means that if the process is not working well, you need to tune this up. Do not carry, because organization says you need to build this process and follow this. Many projects actually we do that, we take the process from the organization's database, that this is the process every project follows, we need to also follow. But if it is not effectively working, we need to fine tune it. We need to see the effectiveness of everything. If that is really effective, if not effective, change it. Maybe some people will ask you that why you are changing. You have to prove it that why you need change. And I think it is good to answer such questions, because we become more thorough about our changes. Sometimes we do not think through very deeply that why we need to change, but when we have to respond to some of the people and answer some questions, we do much more in-depth study in that. Clear the bottleneck, and they keep changing. Bottleneck is something, if you fix at one place, it will occur at other place. That's what the theory of constraint is all about. So process of tracking, reviewing, and adjusting the processes to meet the objective is what the idea of monitoring and control. So we collect the data. Compare this with the planning, see what is the variance. Based on this variance, we take corrective measures, put this into the system, adjust the current processes which are going on based on this corrective or preventive actions, and distributing the information to the people. That means that letting people know that how we are doing and how we will do in future. Both the things are important, the past as well as the future. Assess the measurement. So if you see that in this, the schedule forecast and cost forecast and this validated changes which are coming into this, validated changes basically come from the scope validation and getting like measured here and taking corrective measures on that. In fact, the validated changes are also like come from a controlling process. But the feedback is absolutely fine. And this schedule forecast and cost forecast, we will talk about these things in earned value management in the cost management chapter. What is the most important thing is the project manager's capabilities and its consultant or something who is helping project manager. And second thing is the project management information system, and other analytical techniques and meetings are basically to discuss with the team, because project manager does everything with the team. See, project manager doesn't do anything its own. If you find a project manager who is sitting in his cubicle doing everything his own and does not consult his team for like planning and controlling the things, then that project will not go well. So PMI philosophy is simple, that you prepare a plan, you should have a team along with you. You execute it, you should help team to do to develop deliverables. When you monitor and control, you have your team together with you to look at the variance and taking corrective measures. So in the corrective measures, you should have buy-in from the team, and that's what the main thing in the project management, that project manager does everything with the team. So there are two main output of this: the change request and the work performance reports. The work performance report is basically you have data and now you are generating reports of this data, that which will actually talking about where we are deviating and what we need to do further. So we'll discuss about cost forecast and schedule forecast in earned value management in cost management. So we use a lot of analytical techniques. We'll discuss about all the analytical techniques in different chapters as we move into, because every chapter has at least one process in control, in monitoring and control group, and these all methods will come up in some of the areas, in some of the processes, either in scope controlling, risk, controlling quality, controlling cost. All these techniques which you are seeing here will be part of some process. And one of the important thing one of the important system which play an important role in this is the project management information system. That is your project planning tool or an enterprise project management system, which helps you to plan and collect data and generate reports and help you adjusting the processes or project. Now, in the monitoring and control, one of the things which is important is taking control of the changes. Now, if you have project of even 6 months, there will be rare chances that everything remain fixed till next 6 months. But things are bound to change, especially when you start delivering something to the client and client gets some more ideas with your deliveries. And then when the real thing shape up, and it has got little more ideas that what more can be done in that. Now the whole thing is not about how we can avoid changes, but how we can manage changes. So customer can come up with changes because he's getting new ideas and he sees that this change could make the product much more useful and productive and more sellable or more attractive. Second thing is that he also may be discussing with other stakeholders and some people giving him some ideas to make things better, and everybody has his own idea and can give, and the customer can keep coming up with the new changes. The main thing in this change management is that when the change comes, when a customer requests a change or your team suggests a change, we need to qualify the change. Is this change really required? So qualification of the change is important. That is this change really required? Will this change really make a difference? Will the impact of this change is less than the change it is going to or the betterment it is going to bring into the product? Then we need to assess that how much efforts are required to implement this change, and then seeing that what kind of benefit it is giving and what kind of efforts it is going into this, and then understanding that is this change be taken up or not. So there is a process of analyzing the change. So you do not refuse any change, but you analyze the change, and based on analysis you say it is change is required or not. So it is not change is bad, change are moreover change are good because they help making the product more look more mature or become better. And second, it generates revenue because it is an extra scope which is getting into the project, so you have more work to do. So normally changes are win-win situation, but too many changes can spoil the project. And without change, if something gets changed in the scope without going through change control system, if something get added or deleted in the scope, we call it scope creep. The scope is changing without or circumventing the change management system. Then it is a scope creep. Configuration management is one of the very integral part of the change control system, because in the change control some artifacts of the projects are going to change, and configuration management help us to identify those artifacts and making changes appropriately and updating the baseline appropriately. So configuration management, do you like, how many people understand or you have good idea what is configuration management is all about? Sometimes it is very common term in software industry, but I'm not sure if out of software industry also it's too common.
I have idea. So,
Okay. All are well aware what is configuration management?
basically, configuration management is a tool which will track all the project related documents and like accessibility metrics and all. So what are interrelated, basically that would be in the configuration. All the deliverables including code or any sort of documents or anything can be managed at the configuration management level.
Right. You can also say kind of document management kind of thing, where the project documents are like put into a control environment. So you have a directory structure. So this may be planning part. So all the planning documents are going into this. This may be something like actual data, or this is something called technical documents. You doing all technical data is or documentation is going into this. So it's a kind of directory structure. It's controlled, well planned, developed, and what configuration management does, it keep track of all the changes. So it has a check-in, check-out process, check-in and check-out process. So when you check in, it maintain the changes what have occurred from. So it maintain the previous version as well as the next version. When you check out, it allows you to make the changes, and when you check in, it maintain the previous version as well as the new version. So whatever the changes you have made, every version is maintained separately in the configuration management. So you can find out any version of the document. So that helps in change control. It is a kind of replacing the, because less and less paper documents are coming up. More and more soft documents are now in the picture. Now your filing system in the physical filing system is being changed by configuration management tool. So what are the outputs of project management plan and the outputs of monitoring control system? Go into this, the work performance report and the change request. The change request is actually what will be looked into and will be approved or rejected. So reject is not basically the decision is important, but only approved change request is the output. So it means the things which are rejected are dropped. And one of the important thing here is change control tools and change control process. So what is the process normally defined in this? When a change is received, the project management team look into the changes and identify that what kind of benefit it is going to bring to the project. And based on that, it take a decision that it is qualified to take up or not. In case of debate, from the person who is initiated and you find that it is not worth implementing, what can be done is, or in the case you have decided to pursue, you take an assessment of the effort required to implement this change and put it through a change control board. So when you establish a change control system, we also established a change control board. Now change control board can comprise of people from the customer, from the customer and vendor both, from the vendor only, from the customer only. It could be a one person, it could be 10 people also. It all depends upon the project team and the stakeholders of the project to decide what kind of change control board going to be there. So change control board's responsibility is that to analyze the impact of the change, to understand the change and see if it will be approved or not. So change control board's primary responsibility to approve and reject the changes. So if they look into that, what kind of efforts are there in implementing this change and what kind of benefit it is bringing, is it worth spending that much effort? And once change control board approve the change, it goes into execution process for getting implemented. So there is no thought process after it is approved. Just go and implement it. So approved change request is one of the output because the rejected change request is considered as dropped. So this is not an output. Change log is one of the things. So every time change is approved, you put into the change log how it is going, and it will help us to update the baseline with the new changes. The last point here is, or last process in the integration management is close project. So closing a project means first ensuring that everything else is closed in the project, nothing is open. Then preparing lesson learned. If lesson learns are documented throughout the project, then consolidating them and preparing one document which can be shared with other projects and can be archived. Then third thing is take all the data and archive the project so that it can be accessed later by other project managers or by you yourself. So it becomes a part of the organizational historical database. So it can be accessed by other people to learn if the similar projects happen in future. And the last point is that you should transition the outcome of the project to the next operation team. It could be maintenance, it could be production support, it could be production. The exit, now there are two ways it is implemented. In every phase also you see there is a closure, right? So when it is a phase closure, it is the exit criteria which we are going to satisfy. And in the project closer, it is the project objective will become the exit criteria. So let's see that we are meeting the project objective and what degree we are meeting the project objective. So project management plan and accepted deliverables. So accepted deliverables are outcome of the validate scope. So validate scope is a process where the project manager or the project team goes to the user or client or the other party who is responsible to accept the deliverables. Ask them that this is validated and verified, that is its quality control is checked, its completeness is checked, you can accept it. So once the customer accepts it, it becomes an accepted deliverable. And that is what is an input here, because accepted deliverable is only the final product. So project or the phase closure guidelines or requirements, project audit, project evaluation, transition criteria, historical information lesson learned from the previous project or this project in this case, all the lesson learned, and performance information is need to be archived. So this and process assets going to be updated also based on this. So analytical skills, normally you see that regression trend analysis normally help. In trend analysis, something like we are seeing that over a period of time how this project is performed. And second, regression analysis is normally help in identifying some pattern which can be used or bringing out some kind of formulas or patterns which can be used in future projects based on the activities happen in this project. So closeout meetings, lesson learned meetings are one of few of the important things. Audit meetings are also part, which will help us to document lesson learned, close out the project, archive all the things. So what is really happening here is transition the final product to the next phase, that is operation. Prepare a project file, archive it, prepare all the closure documents and make them as part of the historical information. Any question related to this?
I'm fine with this. I don't have any specific questions right now.
Are you seeing something?
No, I'm saying I'm fine.
Okay.
I don't have any questions right now, so I think we can go ahead further.
Okay, so I think we will be able to cover up this scope management also. Yesterday I think there was a request for WBS, so that will get covered in scope management. And after this session, I will send you the guidelines and your credential to access the virtual learning center. Now from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you have time to attempt 3 quizzes. One is on framework another is on integration management, third is on scope management. This is what we are covering now. What you can do, you can these quizzes which are being provided, you can only attempt once. Okay, there is no multiple attempt for these quizzes. We have kept 1 hour for each quiz, and we consider that it will take around 1 hour to attempt questions of 30 questions, which will, like, you will be referring these slides, you are referring maybe PMBOK and some other book possibly if required, thinking a lot on those questions if things are not so simple. And when you submit the quiz, you will get the answers also with the explanations. Now you can validate your questions with the answers. There are two things to validate. One is you attempted it incorrectly. Second thing, you attempted it correctly, but you were confused at that time. That was it right? Maybe you make a guess, but that guess was right. But that doesn't mean that we have got it right. So both such questions, I think you have a facility to mark the questions. You mark the question, so you remember that which question you were not so you are not very clear, and look at the explanation if this explanation satisfies you. If you find that okay, this explanation is good, is fine, but all the other places where you have a difference of opinion, you think it is not clear, or I'm not sure why this answer is right, you can note down those. Maybe you can note down those question numbers. That is good enough. And then when we meet next Saturday, you can bring out those questions now, and we will go one by one on these covered topics, and we will discuss those questions which have some kind of challenge or some kind of unclarity, or where the concept is not so clear. Okay, so mainly the scope management is talking about doing all the work in the project, nothing should be left, and only doing the work which is required for the project. No, not doing anything extra. Neither leaving anything, nor doing anything extra. And that's what scope management does. Scope management is important in the context that the project starts with defining the scope. It is the foundation of all the project. If the foundation is not right, the project will not go right. And most of the projects which have failed or which have a lot of challenges, most of the projects we have found that there was an issue in scope, irrespective of it has an issue other places or not. So if scope is kept crystal and clear and is professionally managed, a lot of problems can come down. At many places it becomes little challenging that how to tell these things to the client, and we normally stay silent, though we know these things are not very clear or not very, or there's some dicey around it, but we keep it like that, and which create problem later. So a lot of professionalism is required in this case, that we should be in the position to confront with the customer and bring more clarity to the scope, because at the end of the day, customer wants a successful project, and that's the end result which you look for. If that is right, minor things which like how he feel good or bad, all those things he's going to forget if project at the end of the day is successful. But if project is not successful, all these things, small things, will become big. So in my opinion, when we talk about scope management, we should be very clear in keeping the scope crystal and clear, and as crystal clear as possible. May not be like life is not black and white, so there will be some gray area. But the challenge is how to reduce this gray area and keep things more black and white. Better we can do it, better our project will go, and better deliverables if the customer will get. Customer is going to forget all small things. But if project is not successful, every small thing becomes big. So there are again the 6 processes here. 4 in planning and 2 are in control, monitoring and control. The scope will start with 2 kinds of scope. One is product scope, another is project scope. With the definition written on the slide, do you get what the difference between product and project scope?
This is Babura. Basically, the product scope is which is this service or functionality which we will be going to use for the end user. So that is called as a feature which is available in the product, and project scope is to make that function. So whatever the efforts, whatever the work we are going to do, so that would be called as a project scope.
Can you give some examples?
Say for example, we have to launch a animation gaming, so which will require 2 players and some killing voice or something which we have to add it into that animation game. So that is a feature which will be required in the product. So to produce that, so whatever the technology work required, so all the technology work, design, animation, how it looks like, the logo and the pictures and so whatever, so graphics design and everything will be come into the project scope.
Right. So absolutely right. The product scope is about feature. So in the animation thing, the voice quality, the animation itself, how the jerk should not be there, that will decide that what kind of quality you are delivering. So product features like smoothness, clarity, voice quality, this could be part of the feature of the animation, right? If you're producing some kind of chocolate, so the chocolate taste, chocolate's color, its wrapping, all this become product scope. You see, product is output and project is to get that. Right. Attributes of the service, features, functions which will make product or service unique to offer end user. Okay. So that's why that the quality, the quality we can check. The quality we can check for the project also, project things also. But the work we are doing is a project scope, and the outcome is the product. So features, all the features which the requirements which customer is giving about the product become product scope. But if he says, customer says, you give me a project status reports every fortnight, it is part of the project scope, because project status report is not talking about how the product is, but how the work is happening. So when we talk about work, it is project scope. So all the activities you need of performing are part of the project scope. All the deliverables with respect to the work are project scope, but all the deliverables pertaining to the outcome of the product. So your architecture, your design, your artwork, your planning, monitoring control, all activities, governance calls, team meetings, are all these are part of the project scope. Your project status report. So scope first let me also define here. Most of the knowledge areas go like this. First, you will have a management plan. This term keep changing from scope to time to cost, something like that. But first thing is always a management plan. A management plan normally defines how we are going to do the things in this process. So this says how we are going to manage the product and project scope of this project. What kind of tools and techniques we are going to use, what kind of methodology we are going to use, who are the stakeholders of this on this project, what are the timelines to do that, what are the techniques we are going to use the collecting the requirement, what level of WBS we are going to create, what is the depth of the WBS, when we will stop the WBS and further like dividing into smaller pieces. So methodology, tools and techniques, timelines, the management related things all are defined in the management plan, and every knowledge area is like that. You first define how you're going to do it, then do it. So then next is collect requirement and defining the scope. Now many times we are discussing here looks very discrete. The collect requirement is different, define scope is different. Collect requirement come first, define scope come later. But this does not exactly happen on ground. There is a fair possibility that first you define the scope and then collect the requirement. That happens very frequently. Though it is always good you collect the requirement then define the scope, but not necessarily all the time it is happening that way. Many times collecting requirement, defining scope are not two different processes. They are part of the same process and they are so fused to each other you cannot make them two. So they look like one process. So many times when we are doing things here, we explain things in a very discrete manner for understanding, but when you are executing a project, they may not be as discrete, they may not be in the same sequence, they may not be look like exactly as we are discussing here, but the main purpose of discreting things or keeping things separate is to have a better understanding that what are the processes we are doing. So in the scope management plan, basically what we do is, because there is a high level scope is defined in project charter, the project card come as an input, and what you get is two things, the scope management plan and the requirement management plan. They are the two outcome of this. Now scope management talk about how we are going to define and manage this scope. How are we going to detail it out? How are we going to create work breakdown structure? What are the things we need to take care? What are the rules or what are the basic or ground rules we need to follow in when we are developing work breakdown structure. How we are going to control the scope, how we are going to validate the scope. On the other side, the requirement management is limited to the requirement phase. How we are going to collect the requirement, how we are going to analyze the requirement, who are the people who will contribute, who are the people who will validate the requirements, who are the people who will document the requirements, and when how the requirements will be documented, how we will track during the execution that requirements are taken care of, how changes in the requirements will be taken care of. See, many times we say change in the requirement may be a change in the scope and may not be change in the scope. So they are little bit different, that requirement changes tracking, that every change in the requirement should be tracked, but this may not lead to the change in the scope, so there will be no change in the scope statement. What is the parameters, what is the criteria we are going to use to prioritize the requirements? What will be our matrix? How are we going to measure? And there will be a traceability matrix, how are we going to trace, that is how we are going to trace, track and report the requirement changes in the requirement. That is one thing. But another thing is that how we are going to ensure that all the requirements are taken care of throughout all the phases from begin to end, that every requirement is taken care of, and we normally talk about traceability matrix and we'll discuss about it. Wherever you are not clear, please stop me, and so it is absolutely fine to stop me and we discuss or clarify the points instead of coming back and discussing. So feel free to stop me, interrupt me. Now the first thing is collecting requirement, because that's what I really write. Until unless you know all the requirements, you will not be able to define the scope. But in many circumstances, the other way around happens. But let's go the way it is defined here. So when we collect the requirements, when we talk about requirements, mean business requirement, that is the business rules, business requirements, stakeholders specific requirements, solution requirement, transition requirement, when how the project will be transitioned, the project requirement, quality requirements, non-functional requirement, functional requirements, performance requirements. There are various type of requirements which need to be taken care of and to be collected and properly documented in the requirement document. So we have a scope management plan and requirement plan, and there are various tools and techniques which can be used to document the requirement, and as a result we will get requirement document and requirement traceability matrix. And what is requirement traceability matrix? Is a tool to ensure that all the requirements are being taken care of in all the phases of the project, that is design, development, verification and commissioning. Because we need stakeholders, therefore stakeholder register is also there. We need to know who are the people going to participate in the requirement collection. The first tools and technique in the tools and first thing is interview. I think it's very straightforward that you talk to some of the stakeholders and document what the requirements they are explaining. The another thing is the focus group, and another thing is facilitated workshop. So there are two things come into picture. One is focus group and facilitated workshop. The difference between focus group and facilitated workshop is that focus group is taking care about the requirement of one function. So in the focus group, we call subject matter expert of one function and try to evolve the requirement or finalize the requirement of one function. On the other side, in the facilitated workshop, we call the subject matter expert of different function and try to finalize cross-functional requirement. So there is in a SAP application, there is an HR module, there is a finance module, there is a leave module. So how good they are going to plug and how they're going to exchange the information, those requirements, when you collect separately, there will be a lot of conflict, and when you call the people, then those conflicts will go away. So that is where the facilitated workshop come into picture. The group activity techniques are basically the analytical skills techniques we are talking about. The similar things are here. Is something evolving the requirements. So brainstorming is one of the unstructured way of doing the things, bringing people together and discussing and trying to find out some requirements. Okay. Right. Are you hearing me? Hello. Okay. Are you getting now? Right. So brainstorming is one thing which is little unstructured. You call some people like SMEs or some cross-functional facilitated workshop or this and discuss them among them. A nominal group technique is called when in a large group nothing is coming out or no decision is being taken up or the things are not crystallizing. Then we select. Okay, it is like a democracy. Sorry, it is like a democracy that we take a vote from the people and decide on it. Delphi technique is one of the things which is very wide, very important and also used, and it is very effective also. What is Delphi technique? Delphi technique says that you identify the people who can contribute in the requirement. Prepare a questionnaire or a kind of survey and send it to all these people. Now one thing Delphi technique says, don't tell these people who else are participating. So two people sitting in the nearby cubicle may not be knowing that they both are participating, something like that. So you prepare a questionnaire, you prepare a survey and send it to all the stakeholders who are participating in collecting the requirement, and then get their answers. And then you prepare a consolidated requirement document that this is what it is. The benefit of this is that, first of all, you get a variety of very diverse opinion on a particular topic or on something. Second thing, it is less biased. When you are sitting together, people take care of each other and do not speak or remain silent, and something like such things can happen. But in the Delphi technique, because people do not know about who else is involved, they give a much fair opinion. The third important benefit of Delphi technique is this, that people need not be at the same location, because survey or the questionnaire can be sent over the email also, and the people even in the geographically distributed can easily contribute in this. And it is pretty structured because you have already thought of a questionnaire, you have already thought of a survey, and you know that how I'm going to conclude on the requirement once I get the response. So it is a very structured approach. It is very versatile. It is involved large number of stakeholders. It can be done even the people are not at the same location, and it's a much more fair than any other technique. And therefore, the Delphi technique is recommended in many places. Idea and mind mapping. I think you might have seen some kind of diagram like this. A, B, C, and then here there is a diagram. D, E. X, Y, Z, W. So this kind of diagram you might have seen. This is called mind map or idea mapping thing. This is give more structure to brainstorming. So when brainstorming we keep creating this mind map diagram, and it helps us to structure the brainstorming. The same is affinity diagram. Oh, okay. Are you getting now? So this is the diagram which I was talking about. Okay, so this kind of diagram you might see that which is used in this is a mind mapping diagram, and which give a little structure to the brainstorming. Affinity diagram is a similar type of thing, but it is used when to sort out ideas in when there are a lot of unstructured ideas are there, and you don't know, and a lot of ideas are there, a lot of information is there, but you don't know how to make meaning out of it. Then you start, this is a bucketing system, so you create some 3 kind of bucket and start putting with some criteria applying on this. You start putting information, ideas into these buckets. Then you further to refine, you further create some buckets under it, and then further divide into this. This is similar to this, but not exactly that. And this is much older technique than mind mapping. The group decision making techniques, I think you would be familiar with this. Unanimity says that you need not to discuss all together. It is a dictatorship. Oh, sorry, no, this is opposite to that. Unanimity means all get unanimously agree on one point. Now, achieving this is normally difficult, but this is the best way to make a decision. More time, more efforts are required to reach to unanimity, consensus, right? Achieving consensus. More time and more efforts are required, but this is the best way to make a decision. Now, in the interest of time, we often sacrifice the unanimity. And yes, every time you have to take a balance actually. The majority says the democratic method, wherever you get more votes, that is selected. Plurality talks about that if a large group is not able to decide on something, we give it to a small group of people that you decide, and that will be final. So it is something like in our parliament, if something is not concluding, then you make a group of ministers and give it to the group of ministers to discuss and decide. Party forming the government is actually the majority. Plurality is something like you have seen the government create some kind of group of minister group and then say, okay, they are discussing and they will come out with their findings and put this in front of parliament, and that will be largely accepted. That is something like that. And dictatorship is very simple. You don't have to say anything. I've decided. Just forget about it. Question and survey, as I discussed with the Delphi techniques, they normally help in getting diversified opinion in more structured manner. Observations are the method of getting the information or collecting the requirement when a system is existing. When a system is existing, then, so suppose you have already a system, you want to upgrade that system with the new technology. In that case, because system already exists, the customer will tell that you observe what is happening, document it, and then make it, upgrade it. Functionality should be remain same. This is what is supposed to be done. So nowadays, especially in software, a lot of tools are coming up, which you start in the background, and whatever you do, they capture and create a video or create a PPT kind of things, which you can observe later to collect the requirement or document the requirement. Prototype, you know that so when something is not very clear, then prepare a small model and present it to the people to decide that if this is if that will help in deciding on one side. Benchmarking is one of the way to decide that how we are away from the standards. So there could be an industry standard, there could be organization standard, there could be company standards or industry standards or a country specific or whatever. There is a baseline which is given to you, and against that baseline you are measuring that how much deviation from this baseline or this benchmark you're going to take. So this helps us to adopt the best practices or the best things available in the industry or an organization, and then consider them as a requirement. Context diagram is normally help in understanding the flow of the information. Document analysis is talking about like some documentation is already available and you read the document and get the information. So the existing system is there or some kind of document is already developed. And so you read the document, whatever clarifications you find, then you will discuss. Then you go through interview process. So it could be combined with the interview process, or it could be combined with some kind of facilitated workshop or focus group. What you come out with this is a requirement document. And this requirement document contains your all business requirements, all the business rules, business needs, all functional and non-functional, performance, quality requirements, all the training related requirements, support related requirement, post-sale assumption and constraints to be, because many times not everything is clear at the time, or especially at the time of requirement. You decide to write as an assumption. Many times we do not write assumptions and constraints, and that will become a bigger risk because we do not plan for that. So as every assumption has a probability of being incorrect. So all the assumption and constraints to be written so that when you do risk management, at that time you can analyze every assumption and constraint, that what kind of risk it poses to the cost to the project, and then having a proper response plan. You need to define acceptance criteria, on what basis the requirement will be accepted, or the product based on the requirement will be accepted. So this acceptance criteria and the scope acceptance criteria, project acceptance criteria is different. This is requirement acceptance criteria, means the product which is based on this requirement is accepted. Second thing, the project acceptance, that all the completeness which is there in the scope is delivered to the client, and client says okay, it is fine now. So that is a much larger scope than this acceptance criteria here. This is limited to the requirements. The second thing which we develop here is traceability matrix. Now what is a traceability matrix? Traceability matrix is a kind of a matrix which help us to understand that every requirement is being taken care of in all the phases of the project. For example, it can be created like this. Right, and import it. Here you write requirement, because it is creating during requirement collection. You create and fill this column. The next could be design. The next could be construction. The next could be verification. Next could be commissioning. Just for example. So you say R1, R2, R3, R4. Okay. So like if you are constructing a building, you say it should be a 4-story building. So you say 4 stories R1. Okay. You should the height, length, width, all will be defined. The structure of defined. You should use X quality of paint, or that is the paint which need to be done, R3, then R4. It should be able to bear this much kind of balance, or this much of the weight. This much weight it should be able to carry. So weight it should bear, something like that. Now you define that in the design, R1 is taken care of in the section 3.2. R2 is taken care of in the 4.2.1 section. R3 is taken care of in 2.1.1, and R4 is taken care of 5.6 section. So this ensures that every requirement is taken care of in design. So means when we have prepared the design, it addresses all the requirements of the project. Then you talk about construction. So you specify details that how in construction this has been taken care of. What you have done to implement this design. Now again you describe here that how you have taken care of this. So all the columns, if the cells are filled, it means this requirement is also being taken care of in construction or development. Then you also decided how it will be verified. What are the procedures, what are the tools, what are the equipments you're going to use to verify this. So you decide it there. Fill the column, and then in commissioning that okay, we have tick mark, this is also delivered, this is delivered, this is delivered, this is delivered, all the requirements are delivered. Get signed up from the customer on the same thing that we have taken care of it. So the advantage of requirement traceability matrix is this, that you cannot miss a single requirement when it is a time to commission or when the customer has to sign on the acceptance. There is no rework, it reduces rework very drastically. That's why I'll say scoping is very important, and that is how we should do scoping and take care of the scope at all the phases of the project. Like to have a 10 minutes break. Yeah. So in this I have 7:35. The 7:45 we will start. Right? Okay. So once we have defined our scope management plan and collect the requirements are with us, then we can define the scope of the project. So create a detailed description of the scope which defines what is in the scope and also defines what is out of the scope. That is what is that which is this project team is not going to do. That's important. Not only defining what is inside the scope which this project team is going to do, also defining that what are the things which this project team will not consider in the scope and will not do. So scope management plan, requirement document, the charter as input, use expert judgment, product analysis, and alternative identifications for defining the scope. Especially alternative identification in case, because in the project scope it will be important that what is the method or what is the path we are going to implement the things, because the different path may be having different cost repercussions, different timing. So it is important that not only what to be delivered to be defined, but how it will be delivered, that should also be defined. Okay, and what we get is project scope statement, which is a narrative statement of what is inside and outside of the scope. So product analysis is nothing but is a kind of hierarchical structure of dividing the product feature into or defining product feature into a hierarchical way. Give me a moment. So product analysis is like we take the product features and show them something like in hierarchical structure, do some system engineering means or value analysis. That means defining that which feature is what kind of value it is going to create and how important it is in the product. Value engineering, value analysis are basically done for defining the importance based on the value it is going to create or it has in the product. Ultimately doing deep dive into the product and seeing that how it will be developed and then deciding on the scope. Alternative analysis is a similar kind of approach where we see the method of the implementation, that there will be a different way to produce the same thing, and then we identify a particular method and then document into the scope that this is how we're going to implement, and that is the scope of the. So any other method get excluded from the scope. Facilitated workshop, you know that it is for the cross-functional requirements. What you get as the output is the scope statement. A scope statement is a narrative, is a kind of document, is a narrative statement which talks about project deliverables and exclusions which is not in deliverables. Document all the assumptions and constraints based on which the scope statement is defined. It also defines the acceptance criteria of the project. So acceptance criteria defined in requirement document is something for product to accept or different part of the product to accept. Here it is the complete project. And during this process some documents may get updated. The next process of defining the scope. So in the product analysis, in the scope statement, we define the product and some methods to achieve the product. But in the work breakdown structure, we actually define the project scope, what need to be done to produce that. Therefore, the scope baseline is a combination of scope statement and work breakdown structure. Both together form the scope baseline, because one talk about product and how it will be achieved. Second talk about the work to be done to achieve this, and that is called work breakdown structure. Work breakdown structure is a hierarchical structure of the work to be accomplished, and what you get output is a scope baseline. So what is the work breakdown structure? Is something like this. So say there is a project. There are a couple of approaches we can take. The first approach is a phased approach. We divide the project into phases first. So like requirement, design, construction, verification, commission. And then each phase we define what are the deliverables of that phase. So in the phase 1, that is the requirement, we have one requirement called requirement document. Second deliverable is a traceability matrix. Third document could be like details of the or some functional requirement or some other kind of requirement, some guidelines for the design. Now if requirement document is a big thing, we can divide into smaller documents. Maybe a requirement document could be comprising of different requirements. So we have defined functional requirement in one document, performance requirement in other document, environmental related requirement other document, safety related requirements in other document, and then comprising them together make deliverables. How it will benefit? The functional requirement maybe some 2-3 people will prepare. Performance requirement maybe an architect will prepare. The safety requirement maybe the people belong to safety department will prepare. So it can be divided into different groups. So, and if we are not further dividing, then we call it as a work package. The work package is the final deliverable which is not being subdivided further, or lowest level item in the hierarchy. Similarly, we can define in phase 2 like architecture or design are two deliverables in design phase. If the design is big, we can talk about design for functional and performance requirement, design for safety, design for, if the project is big, it involves civil work as well as electric work as well as some piping work. Then we can have design for piping, design for civil, design for electric. Now, in other approach is that we do not define phases, but we directly define deliverables. Civil, this part will be delivered by civil. This part will be delivered by, this is the electronic part. This is civil part. This is piping part. Another deliverable. This is piping part. Now, civil part, there is a foundation, there is some campus creation, or maybe something like work platforms or the equipment platform, and will be a residential place, would be something like a garden, etc. Similarly, we can talk about electrical department that okay, there are some generators need to be produced, there's some kind of other equipments need to be produced. That can be. So we can define actual deliverables without any phases. The third approach is if the project is too big, we divide it into smaller projects, and then we can take either this approach or any third approach which is more suitable to the project. To do this, we use this deliverable oriented hierarchical structure. Actually, we form the WPS. So decomposition is a process which is used to decompose things into smaller pieces. The question actually comes where we should stop. Why we should stop here? Can't we further subdivide into functional requirement into different sections? We can, or we may not. It all depends upon the couple of parameters or couple of ground rules which we have to set in the scope management plan. That at what level we have to stop. So something which is some rules which you can define or generally accepted rules are something like that. It is the ground rule is the main objective is become easily manageable. You have a work package, you do not subdivide because it can be assigned to a team, assigned to a group, assigned to a person. Assigning resources is easy. Okay, further dividing into this, maybe divide into one person may not be that appropriate. Another method could be that our review cycle is 1 month. So this work package should not go beyond 2 months. 2 times the review cycle. That means if we are having a review cycle and it is started somewhat in between this is almost 50% should be completed. So we know easily that are we on track or we are not. we need not to have a very granular or very fine-tuned scale. We need to take a scale and measure it is 5%, 6%, 10%. Because it is, even if it is suppose 1 month review cycle, and this is 4 month project. Normally we recommend could be 1 month package, 2 month package. Even if you have 4 months, that is the maximum, it is still 25%. It means in one review cycle we get to know that it is 25% complete or not. We need not to have any scale to measure. We can easily, without any scale, you can understand it is we are going ahead, we are on time, or we are behind. There could be some other rules also which you can define, and based on that you can decide where to stop our decomposition. The idea of decomposition is such that all the work we need to do in the project must be included in the WBS. That means team is not going to do anything which is not in WBS, and everything is in the WBS and there's nothing left. So we use a rule of 100%, nothing is left out and no extra thing is there in the WBS. Where we stop, verify the degree of decomposition is necessary and sufficient. And this give us WBS. Another thing called WBS dictionary. So we have WBS, a work package A. Now work package A, what is happening in the work package A is defined in WBS dictionary under work package A. For every work package here, there is a description here in WBS dictionary which talks about all the attributes of work package here in the WBS, what need to be done, who will do, are any special requirements there. So whatever we need to message or any kind of input we want to give to the person who is going to perform on the work package, we define this into a WBS dictionary. So WBS dictionary is a complementary to WBS, because WBS only boxes are not enough. You need to have a description what need to be done in this. That is defined in WBS dictionary. And we already have defined project scope statement. And what is project scope baseline is the project scope statement, project WBS and WBS dictionary. All three together form scope baseline. This is an example. There is a mobile phone. It has two parts, hardware and software. So first requirement, under requirement there are two deliverables. Requirement document and formalizing the specifications. In design there are three deliverables: hardware design, software design and manual layout. In hardware development there are some deliverables or activities, you can say, similarly here and here. What is WBS dictionary? Provide more detailed description of the WBS component, code of account identifier, description of the work and responsibility who will do it. So you have a scope management plan, requirement document, traceability matrix, scope statement, WBS and WBS dictionary. This is all planning. After that, this will help execute processes to reduce deliverables. So once deliverable is produced, it go through quality control, and once it is certified at quality control, it goes to validate scope. That is here. So here what you are getting deliverable is a validated or verified deliverables. That is what you are seeing here. Verified deliverable means a deliverable produced and have gone through quality control. So what is happening in the quality control? In the quality control, it is checked for correctness. Whatever is produced is working correctly as per the specifications. What is happening in validate scope? We are checking the deliverable for completeness. Here we are talking about correctness, and here completeness. Here we check whatever was defined in the scope is done. Here we check whatever is defined as per the specification is done. And with this correct and complete, you take it to the customer and ask him to accept the deliverable. So outcome of validated scope is accepted deliverables. Because it's a control process, all control process normally contain work performance data because they come after some execution. Without execution, there is no control. So control means there's some execution has happened. Because execution has happened, we have a collected data, and that is feedback here, which help us to understand doing the work of the controller. So what is the actual data we are collecting here? The degree of compliance with the requirement, number of non-conformities, severity of non-conformities, and number of validation cycles performed in a period of time. So what kind of validation, verification is being done as of now? That is the actual data which we get, which help us to verify it through the scope, or validate against the scope, and then decide take it to the customer or not. And if we take it to the customer, he will accept or reject. If he accepts, it becomes acceptable deliverables. If it rejects, it becomes a change request. How do you validate through the scope? Normally through the reviews. That is called inspection walkthrough. You get either acceptable deliverable or change request. Okay, so get work performance information, which talks about the status of the deliverable, implementation status of the change request, forecasted estimates to complete, when it will be complete if it is not completed yet, how much it is complete, what is the state of the how much we have completed. Now, when we talk about completeness in the validated scope, in the control process, we talk about the variance, what's supposed to be done and what is being done, and how much is the variance. This is against the scope baseline. What was the work which is defined as of now, how much scope we supposed to complete, how much scope we have completed. Definitely, it was either we will telling about compliance with the planned one, or we will come with the change request. So it will show us that how we are performing against our scope baseline, and is there any variance then which will lead to the change request. What is that change request? So because we are talking about against the baseline, we have requirement document, traceability matrix, work performance data, that is the data which is collected, and we do a variance analysis measuring the deviation and then producing work performance information to be communicated to the stakeholder. So what is the work performance data we are collecting? Which deliverable has started, which is finished, and how much it is completed. What is the progress of the deliverables? What are the deliverables which are completed? Assess the magnitude of the variation from the original scope baseline. How much we have deviated from the scope baseline. What is the degree and what need to be done? What is the reason behind that? Why we have deviated? How much we have deviated and why we have deviated, and what can be done to correct this, and what we can do so that it should not reoccur. That is what the variance analysis, various tools and various techniques are there, various tools are there which are used, that they could be dependent upon the project we are executing. So what is the work performance evaluation? Mainly plan versus actual information. That this was the plan, scope baseline is the plan, and this much is completed, and this is the variance, and which will be communicated to the stakeholders with the forecast that how we are going to complete this. Will it be delayed? Will it be done in time? Will it be done before time? And the change request. The scope is completed. Let me show you some kind of templates which could be normally used in such things. So if you look at this is a simple template of creating a scope statement. An executive summary which actually talks about the background, business objectives, normally define what we want to achieve out of this project, defines the project description, and defines the what is in the scope, what is out of the scope. What is the project completion criteria? That is the success criteria, the acceptance criteria, assumptions, constraints. What are the constraints in front of us? What are the project milestones? And who is going to approve or approvals nature and contribute such signatures. Okay, I also show you a traceability matrix which is normally used, that could be useful. If you see this, this is one of the sample of a traceability matrix. It says this is a functional requirement document. The test design document is test designs are actually the scenarios which need to be tested. Design document program, it is a software based, so it is really software, the code and the status. So you have some workflow requirement. This talks about that there is a section in the test design which is addressing this. In the design document 8.6.1 section is talking about this workflow. In the program specification or low level design, which is the file name which is actually the low level design of this requirement, and this is the code file. Here it is coded. Right now it is partially complete, may not be tested. So through all the phases of project, this is ensured that requirement is being taken care of. You can't miss a requirement. Okay, now look at this. There is a case study which talks about that we need to release a mobile phone. And this mobile phone is to be launched within 6 months, and there are some artifacts are given here, and there are some there is another one actually which is, I think, maybe you need to define a project charter also before we define scope, and some activities, a small work breakdown such type, the resources who are going to work on it are given there. What we need to do for this kind of project, we need to define a project charter. We need to prepare a scope statement and create a work breakdown structure. Now this is this much up to level 2 we have covered as of now. So you need to do only these 3 things. I'm not asking you to prepare a project management plan, but project charter, scope statement, and work breakdown structure can be prepared for this. What I'm doing, I'm sending this to you through email. Go through it and ask me any question if you have with respect to this to prepare these three things. In 2 minutes, it will be in your email box. So I've sent you the case study with the templates. You have a template for charter and you have a template for scope statement. So my suggestion is that right now, first you go through the case study and think about that what you're going to write in project charter and scope statement. And if any question is strike to you or you think you need some clarifications, you can ask me here. And actually you can prepare maybe after the session is over. But you go through this, ask any clarification if you need, because only very limited information is provided here. You need to decide yourself that what kind of mobile phone you're going to launch. This for or you want forward telecom to launch, and then maintain the consistency in your charter, in your scope statement and various objectives and activities and the WPS. There should be consistency which talks about only that type of mobile phone. The various type of mobile phone can be launched. So decide on that. This is left on you. You need to make a lot of assumptions. So make your assumptions, write those assumptions in the assumption section. And because you will make some assumption, there are chances you will need some kind of clarification. So you can ask me clarification so that it becomes easier for you to write down this project charter and scope statement and create WBS. I will give you the handle. You can display it on the machine. Okay. Anyone want to display his project charter? Should we write what mobile phone is being used what by most of the people in the country, so it will be profitable to launch a mobile phone? Yeah, why not? But the thing is that there are various type of mobile phones in the market available. What is your mobile phone? Which segment of people it target? Who are the real customers? Anyone want to share his project charter? I will give handle to you, and you can display it on the to everyone. Need not be a perfect one. I just want to discuss it because we get some right ideas that where we need to focus and what some like oversight, some overlooked some points. Sometimes things which looks very obvious, it's not that obvious actually. Even Lalit, you would like to show? Is it you? Anyone? Bhagesh, Baburao, Ajay. Now, I'm not talking about a scope statement. I'm talking about only project charter, which I think most of you would have done. Okay. You want to show it to the on the screen? I give you the handle. You can display your desktop, share desktop with other people. Okay. Let me give it to you. You can show. Okay. What I do. Lalit, you can. Okay. I think I need to take this. Not this. No, I need to make you the presenter actually. 1 minute, let me. Make presenter Lalit. Yeah, sure now. Lalit, you can show now. Right. Okay. 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 What should be the objective actually for our mobile phone? It should benefit some people, right?
Yeah, correct. Now, as per my small understanding, what I understood, what is the objective of a mobile phone here? So a company says we need to launch a mobile phone, by virtue of which we have large people in a region who are using mobile phones due to technology and all. So
Well,
if
can you
they
come?
launch a mobile,
Can you be a little louder or come closer to the mic?
yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that. Yeah. Now, to my mind, what I understood, the project objective, for launching of a mobile phone. Now, the company may think that there is a need for mobile phones in the market, or there is a need for a specialized type of mobile phone in the market. There, people are using mobile phones like anything, and the market is there, the people are there. Why not to launch a mobile phone to get a good revenue for the company? So that is
Right.
what I understood from this.
So I suggest like this, you consider a specific audience in your mind. Maybe it could be student, it could be young ones, it could be professionals, could be old age people. See, their requirements are different. The students' requirements are different with mobile phone. The professionals like you and me, we have a very different requirement, and the old age people, very different requirement. If you given a smartphone to an old age person, you probably will not be able to use it effectively.
Okay.
So that's why I want to discuss this. That when we talk about objective, we should talk about some benefit to some of the part of the society,
Got it.
some focus in some area. So if you say wireless telephony is the need of the country, therefore we want to, but how you make a money out of it? Ultimately you have to make money and become popular. That is one of the objective. What objective? That how much do you want to grab market share? You want to become like have more visibility in the market, and objective should be very concrete, which is measurable. You want like Samsung launched a smartphone and but they become almost number one now, and that was one their objective, that you have to be number one in the market in 2 years. That's the objective, which is measurable. I want to gain market share by 10%, something like that,
Correct.
which is a measurable item. Go down. Large number of population nowadays use mobile phone. No, I couldn't read that. Just little. Okay, fine. We launch a mobile phone in the marketplace. There will be a lot of buyers, therefore making it profitable venture. That's why I think Ajay was asking that what is the business case? Business case is not objective. This business case is an opportunity, is a reason to launch this. You say there are a lot of smartphone in the market, but old age people are finding it difficult. Now you find a gap, that there is an audience, but there is no suitable mobile phone available in the market. We can fill this gap. So we say old age people want to use such kind of mobile phone and there is no mobile phone available in the market, and therefore there is a need of it.
Hello. This is
Yeah.
Ajay. Can you
Yes,
hear me?
Ajay.
I mentioned that before launching a competitor, I mean, that could be a project. I mean, before I know the competitors, what they are doing. So I have got a news that suppose like, for example, Samsung and LG, how they compete each other. Suppose, for example, Samsung is launching some model and LG has got to know. So within 6 months, they wanted to launch because Samsung is going to launch after 9 months. That could be a business case, right?
That could be business case, right?
Okay, so that's what I mean. I wanted to mention.
That could be business case because there is the market demand, and we have a competitor already in the fray, which is we have got a news that okay, they're going to launch to grab the market share. But the thing is that this business case should match with our objective.
Yeah, exactly.
The business case should match with our objective. This shouldn't happen that objective is talking about something else, and
Exactly.
business case is something different.
Exactly. So business objectives, what I said that release of new mobile phone in 6 months for young users in between 15 to 38. And business case was before launching competitor ABC mobile, we have to launch our model within 6 months.
Yeah, in that area, but in that area the computer is already ready to launch. That's what you are trying to say.
Yeah, before competitor launches, we want to launch with and targeted same customers what the competitor is going to offer.
Right. And then we need to define the project scope, that what is the scope. So scope should match with our business case and objective.
Scope, yeah, scope and scope. I'll tell you. Now, scope I have mentioned detail that name XYZ mobile company, whatever it may be, then production area, selling all customers between 15 to 30 years. Products include handsets, accessories, pouches, batteries, and chargers, and everything.
Okay. Will you like to share your desktop?
How I can share?
I give you the handle like I gave it to Lalit.
Few of the things I did not understand, so I kept it blank.
No, that's fine. Let me give you the presentation right. Okay, you can share now.
Just a moment.
No, I want to discuss it right now so that you have time of 1 week. You can think on those lines and prepare it. It shouldn't happen that we come with all the things and then we discuss it at that time.
Are you see now?
Yeah.
Are you able to see?
Yeah, I'm able to see. Can you go up on the top?
Yeah.
Do not scroll too much. Just go on the top.
The name of the Private Limited.
Do not scroll too much. Just go on the top.
On top? Yeah.
And okay, release new mobile phone 6 months for young age users.
Yeah, here it was 13. I removed that 15 age.
But one thing I will ask you, what you want to achieve?
Yeah.
What you want to achieve?
What I want to achieve? I want to achieve my first entry before my competitor launches, where I can get maximum market share.
So that we need to define that how much market share you target for.
Okay, so projected whatever market because this is a new model I am launching. So
Yeah, but
there is
there is an
market
objective.
share for that particular model.
So you say, how do you say that you have achieved your objective? If I say 50% market is fine, so if I 50% market, I have met my objective, otherwise I am not.
Correct. So that is an objective, right? We have to be specific in terms of the targeted customers, timelines, as well as what business opportunity they are looking at, right?
Yeah, and the objective should be measurable. which you can verify that this has happened or this has not happened. So how much that
This
has
has
happened?
happened or this has not happened?
Yeah, true.
How much of that has happened?
Correct. Fine.
Can you go down?
Whatever I have mentioned is this perfect?
Okay, 15 to 30 years and achieve more than 50% market share. Okay, you can define, that is also fine. You can define which market share actually, between 15 and 30, which is clear actually.
Define which market is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, go down
So
actually.
it's
I think
domestic market. Yeah.
go down.
Yeah, go down actually.
Yeah. Project description, fast producing
Description is
hardware
not that
vendors.
important
I
actually.
have to find it out. I mean, I think description is not required.
I think the scope, business case, these
Business
are
case.
things that are more important.
Business case, these are more important.
Yeah. Business case was, I think, before launching competitor ABC Mobile, we need to launch our model. And project scope which I mentioned was XYZ Mobile, which is our company. Suppose we have got a production area of this much of square feet, and we are got what we are going to sell is that all customers will be 15 to 30 years. Product includes handsets and accessories, pouches, battery chargers, whatever it may be. I can list it. These are all things which
I
are
will,
wanted to produce.
in the business case,
This was the scope.
I will suggest that we should write like that, that
Yeah.
the ABC company, the competitor ABC company is already planning to launch the mobile in the same segment to achieve 50% of market share. It's important that we launch our mobile within 6 months.
So come again, I could not hear you.
Yeah, you mute yourself, then it will, because it will echo which is coming actually from your mic.
But if I mute, then I may not be audible.
Yeah, then you can unmute. When I am speaking, just mute. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is that what is business case? Business case is there is a gap where the mobile phone can be there, but it is not there, which is 15 to 30 years of age. That is the student age which you are talking about. You are launching a mobile for the student. So we can say this business case as that there is a specific, the mobile phone with a specific feature student may like, and therefore we can launch this mobile phone. That is one business case. Second is we need to launch it within 6 months because our competitor is planning to launch the similar mobile phone in 9 months. So first thing is that there is a gap available. We should not launch a mobile phone just because our competitor is launching. It may, the competitor will fail, we also fail. So we should see that there is a need for that. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah, you can unmute and see.
Yeah. You mean that in business case we need to give some supporting like market research or what exercises we have done and we are projecting on that and what kind of revenue or what kind of business we are going to get. It should be talking in terms of numbers, right?
Not numbers, but at least we say that there is a need for such a mobile phone.
Market research. Okay, so this would talk about opportunity.
Yeah, opportunity.
Business opportunity.
You have some market survey. You have some kind of understanding study that okay, students are looking for a specific type of mobile phone, and it will fly.
All right. True. But, okay. Then suppose I have mentioned it, like what I am going to do and what other things. High level deliverables I do understand.
I will try to talk about the scope here. Just mute yourself for a moment. Scope means we need to define what are the work or what are the feature of the mobile phone we are talking about
What are the features of the mobile
will be in the
Okay.
mobile phone.
Okay, so features.
A feature or the work for us,
Feature
you
or
are
the work.
launching design team. Means we say we will
Okay.
produce 10 for mobile phone. Okay, as a prototype.
mobile phone.
Manufacturing of the mobile phone is a part of the manufacturing unit, which has become out of the scope part. Okay, some feature you can mention about the mobile phone, that these features are part of this scope.
Okay.
These features are
Some
not.
feature you can check about the mobile phone. These features are part of this scope. These features are not.
You can
Touch
define
screens
some
and all
work.
kind of things, for example, maybe
Sorry?
features. I mean, so few of them are included and few of them are not included. Both of these things we have to mention, right?
Correct.
Okay. Features.
Maybe work also, like you say, I will prepare first 10, first 10 sets. After that, manufacturing unit will do. We are not
After
manufacturing.
the manufacturing,
Right. Correct. Got it. Whatever it means. Yeah. This I can list it out. For high level deliverables.
High level deliverable could be based on the what you write in the project scope, or could be what is data which is already given in the case study.
Fine. Okay. And the milestones which I thought, a project start date, end date, then delivery when it will happen, and then these was the title, suppose, and then I wanted to put them in bullets. This would be a part of the entire thing, which would give like starter app one, then plan complete on time one, assembly planned on whatever mobile. I mean, I would have much more production knowledge as such, but assembly planned on, I executed on that assembly plan, whatever assembly plan we made, and then executed on, and then project closed on. So entire life cycle of the project, date wise. So here I will put the dates in front of every bullet, and I'll see to that there are the milestones which are set.
This is right, but you see the data given in the project plan, in the case study. In fact, milestones are mentioned there also, but this is also fine. We need to give some only the dates, some probable dates.
Yeah, I have to put dates. That's it.
Yeah.
Because the time was not there, so that's why I remember. Stakeholders and known requirements that we can put it because
Yeah.
that varies. And then the high level project is
Yes.
also we can mention. That's not a problem.
Fair enough. I take up the presentation right.
I take up the presentation right.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So I think this discussion might have given some idea that how the project charter, and once the project charter is ready, I think project scope statement, preparing scope statement shouldn't be that difficult. The consistency, the measurability, the these things are actually important, and you see that they all together make some sense, and we have a specific target audience in target, like you said, 15 to 30 years of age. So we are talking about student and early professionals. Okay, in fact, you can talk about 15 to 20 or a student or maybe the professionals or the young professionals, maybe something like that. And then it shouldn't be that difficult as such to prepare the scope statement. My idea to discuss this thing here, to give this idea so that you can, when you actually put the efforts, it is more on right side. Okay, so we have already exceeded our time by 15 minutes. And so I will try my best in the next upcoming sessions to save your 15 minutes in some of the session. And so next time when we will meet, you come back with your project charter and this scope statement and work breakdown structure. I will suggest you if you send it a day or two before, so that I can also look and we can have a more meaningful discussion. Okay, and I will send out a guidelines to access Virtual Learning Center. I request you to please take up the quizzes of project management framework, project integration management, and project scope management before we meet next time. And write down your challenges, write down your confusion, write down your discussion points, and we will discuss it on Saturday morning. Sorry, Saturday evening at 6 o'clock. Okay. Fine. So thank you very much for being here. Good night and see you next Saturday.